But before we get started, just want you to know that we do record our consultations and all that stuff, such as other
Okay.
lessons as well. It's on a form and everything. So just a heads up on that. So I didn't get a chance to go over your consultation form. I think I did, but I had like a few others to read as well. So I might mix them up. But go ahead and just fill me in and just share any important information that you think I should know of. I'm going to be taking notes and everything. And then we'll go from there.
Okay, that sounds good. So, I adopted Bruno 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
He's from a rescue here in Chicago, and he's pretty good in the house for the most part. I don't have any serious complaints about, his manners at home. But he pulls a lot on walks and he's very reactive on his leash. So much so that he actually broke my finger so badly last summer that I needed to have surgery to reset the bone. So he really hasn't improved since then. I'm a lot more careful, but he broke my finger lunging after a bike, which is very normal for him. Pretty much anything that he sees, he reacts to on walks. Other dogs for sure, bikes, scooters, skateboards, sometimes cars, sometimes people. Basically anything that moves, he seems to react to. So that's the main issue that I would like to address. He's also crazy in the car. I don't know if that's something that's fixable, but he reacts again to everything when he's in the car. Usually I try to throw the crate in there so that he's contained because it's easier to drive like that. But he is also, pretty much anything he sees from the window, he freaks out. So that's mostly Bruno in a nutshell.
Okay. How old is Bruno?
He's probably about 3 or 4.
And then what's the breed?
He's a mixed breed, so cattle dog, pit bull is probably what he mostly is.
So, okay, like how much does he weigh then?
He's like 50 pounds or so, 50, 55.
Cattle mix. And then it kind of cut off when you said this, but how long ago did you adopt Bruno?
It's been about 2.5 years, I think. Yeah, 2.5 years.
Okay.
So it'll be 3 years this summer.
2.5. Okay. And what have you tried so far to like address your walks?
Well, we've worked with other trainers in the past, and some stuff kind of worked and some of it just really didn't stick. The reactivity is not something that I've ever really been able to get control of, to be honest with you. We tried positive reinforcement and, like kind of like walking in circles and stuff and trying to get him to focus. But I think sometimes it's just, he doesn't care.
Okay. And if, because you said he's also sometimes reacted to people, if someone were to enter your home, how does he handle that situation?
Visitors, he's good. Yeah, I've never had an issue with like somebody coming over that's invited, you know what I mean?
Okay.
We live in an apartment, so he'll bark when people are in the hallway and stuff, but he greets, he's too excited when people come to the door, so he'll jump on them and greet them and stuff. But yeah, he's not like aggressive when people come over.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out where the if there's anything like any meaning or any intent behind on your walks towards humans. But okay, that's good to know. And with dogs, has he ever been in like a social setting with dogs? Has he ever played with a dog, or have you not gotten to that point yet? If you're uncomfortable.
Yeah, so he does fine in like smaller settings with dogs, but like a dog park is not good for Bruno. Or like, when I bring him when I'm out of town, for example, I don't have him boarded anymore, like at a facility, because it's just I think it just stresses him out. So he doesn't do very well in those situations where it's like, a bunch of dogs in a room. But where he does stay when I'm out of town, they have a couple of dogs and they always have dogs boarded there, and he does really well with those dogs.
Nice.
But he's been attacked by a couple of dogs since I've had him even. So I don't know, what that was about, but it was like unprovoked. We were on a walk and a dog just like lunged on top of him, got him by the neck and stuff. So I don't know if some of that is also like when we're walking.
Yeah. When did he get attacked when you had him the first time?
So actually that was like right after I got him, and it was while he was boarded. So a dog, he was like, I was told that Bruno was asleep.
Oh.
And then this dog just like pounced on Bruno and grabbed him by the neck. And then the next time it was with me, we were just on a walk and some person had their dog off leash and just bolted at us. So.
God. Okay. And before these attacks, was he still reactive or was he a little more chill? And have you so I'm trying to ask, like, have you noticed like spike in the reactivity from these attacks, or just always reacted before?
Honestly, I think that first attack kind of derailed a lot of stuff. I mean, I'd only had him for a couple of months and he was honestly not too bad. But Bruno, come on. But he, after that, like hated being in the car, and then kind of seemed to be a little bit more timid with more dogs. And like, that was kind of the beginning of the end of any attempt to bring him to be boarded at a facility, because like, honestly, he won't even go in the door.
Okay. And, but now he's with like it sounds like a smaller, like facility type area.
Like, close to someone's apartment.
That's good. Yeah. And then he is social there. They let him play, or is he able to? Cool.
Yeah, go play with other dogs.
Nice. And what else? I doubt they're reactive in the car. Okay. Anything else I should know about Bruno?
I think that's the main thing that I would like to address with training.
Reactivity, the reactivity basically as a whole, which would include the car. Sounds good. For your training, sounds like one was positive reinforcement, and then what was the other trainer using, or
no, that's basically all we really tried, to be honest with you. And then kind of the pandemic happened, my finger was broken, and I was just slow about,
Oh, nice. What else? And then with the bike, it was just a lunge as the bike passed, and then pulled your finger. Okay, and then you said bikes, rollerblades, scooters, other dogs. Was on leash. Okay. What's the training tool you use for Bruno when you're taking him on he So like a gentle leader, harness, prong, collar, flat.
He just wears a collar with a leash. I attempted to do a gentle leader once, but like he got it off his face really fast.
Right. Okay.
So
yeah, so the reason I asked is just to see what's being communicated to him these walks. So far, what I'm getting is that it just sounds like Bruno is just overstimulated. So that's like the most common thing in like dog owners, like a regular dog, is that usually these things come from overstimulation. So he's already friendly to humans or social with humans outside of walks. He plays with dogs. He's able to like function right outside of walks. So it could be overstimulation, which is probably what I'm thinking, where he is just doesn't know what to do, and he's just kind of like you'll know we already know off the bat, because we'll see like the dog kind of like looks like they're in like they're scouting for something, like they're always looking for something. So it just sounds like it's either overstimulation, or it could be a little bit of like maybe a little bit territorial, right? Because some dogs are only a certain way with the owner, and then once the dog is away from the owner, they're changing, right? Which is also very, very common. But yeah, I think it's mostly overstimulation. He has no guide, and there's nothing telling him what to do, right? So when I ask what training tool you'll use, sometimes it affects like the frustration Bruno might have. So which can also happen with your regular flat collar. So dogs have what's called opposition reflex. Do you know what that is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he'll try to, the harder I pull, the more he's gonna pull forward. Okay.
Exactly. It's usually more common with harnesses. Some here and there, flat collars can still provide that feeling for them. They want to pull forward with the flat collar. So that's probably another tool that we're using that could be increasing the frustration, right? Because harnesses are used for huskies to pull sleds. We also use harnesses, and here and there you'll see what's called an agitation collar. All it is just a big, thick collar to create the opposition reflex, but it's also not directed at like the Adam's apple, so it's not going to choke them out. It's everywhere. So when we're trying to create frustration, and for our protection dogs, we have the handler, like me, the dog, and then across from us is like the guy in the bite suit who's going to get bit, right? So I have my dog, I pull back, and then I release a little bit, pull, release, pull, release. So I'm like kind of playing with the dog. So every time they get to pull forward, I pull them back, and I let them pull forward again. And I keep repeating this until I get enough frustration, and then I let the dog go, and then they go and bite the guy. So that could also be something Bruno's experiencing on your walks, is that when you're giving tension, it's almost like he's going against that tension because the tension is being created. So it's like, I don't know if you've ever seen it, or maybe in the movies you've seen it, like where there's these two guys getting into it at like a bar, and they're like about to fight, and then like one guy has his buddies holding back, and that guy who's being held back becomes more intense. So it's the same thing with that. But yeah, what I'm thinking, Bruno, it's good that you're not using a harness. Gentle leader is because if let's say he wasn't trying to take it off, you might notice that there is it's starting to work, or it's becoming effective. It usually only lasts like a month, right, where you notice a change. After that, he's not going to care, because gentle leader is not an aversive, right? Gentle leader is just kind of, you're adding more control, but you're not addressing anything. So it's like, what's an example? Like, let's say you teach him the place command. Are you familiar with the place command? Place is like, go to your bed and then don't hop off. Lay down, sit down, chew the bone, I don't care, but don't hop off your place, right? If you're trying to, so I'm trying to explain how they're both band-aids, a gentle leader and like a place command for guests entering the home. So let's say your issue is he jumps on the guests. He's always excited, jumping on them, going crazy. So I tell him place, and then everything's great. You're actually not addressing the behavior. You're using the place as a band-aid, because if he's on place, he's not going to jump. But if he's off place, he's going to jump right away, right? So you would have to actually address the behavior of jumping, right? Not place, because place has nothing to do with jumping on your guest, right? It's like the picture right here is address this picture right here, not do like, tell them to go somewhere else so it doesn't happen. It is a way to fix it. Sometimes owners prefer that way. It's up to them, whatever works at home. But gently would be the same thing. You're adding more control, but he's still thinking, I mean, once I take this gentle leader off, or the next day you use a flat collar, whatever it is, I'm just gonna do like what I've been doing before. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
And positive reinforcement, as you've probably seen, sometimes doesn't work. So like, Bruno could be walking with you, he sees a squirrel, you've got your turkey or dog, whatever it is, you have your turkey. Usually dogs kind of think like, I've never gotten a dog, I've never gotten that bike before, but I've been getting turkey all day, so I'm gonna choose a bike. right? So they're able to just, this is more important than the turkey right now, right? And at times it can be a little bit discouraging for owners because it's like just a lot of time and a lot of effort for the food stuff, and you're carrying your food, and then you know, a lot of owners don't know what to do when a dog does go into, like, when they blow up, right?
Yeah.
So it just gets frustrating and everything like that. And positive reinforcement is good for things you want to see. It doesn't work for things you don't want to see, right? So that's like another issue, is that if first, let's say he was becoming less reactive because you were using like a different tool or like a prong collar, and he didn't react, then you would use the food, right? Sometimes owners try to, you know, distract the dog or anything like that using food, which doesn't really connect well to the dog. If anything, you're just reinforcing the reactivity in that sense. So positive reinforcement, we like positive reinforcement. We use positive reinforcement for puppies under 6 months, right? Because it's just fun stuff that doesn't really matter, right? It's just to get them used to their body mechanics, get the brains working and everything like that. After 6 months, we start big girl, big boy training, which is like you use prong collars, e-collars, right? Positive reinforcement has a very low ceiling for reliable obedience. It's about like maybe like a 15%, right? Prong collar, are you familiar with prong collars?
Yeah.
Like those spiky ones. Those are a good tool. It's a good step forward. It's a good step forward to be addressing the reactivity and like the behavior work for Bruno. You can teach commands as well with it. So you can teach heel, stay, sit, down, come, place with prong collar. But prong collar also has a higher ceiling rate than positive reinforcement, but it's still low, because once you take that prong collar off, you have lost all control of your dog. Sometimes prong collars can be dogs can override the prong collar. So with reactivity. So let's say you give like your strongest pull or like leash pop on the prong collar, but Bruno does not care and is still reactive, then you're stuck there, because your strongest yank or pull maybe is like a 7 out of 10. But if he's at a 10, you're never going to override the brain and like cut it at that point, right? The reason why we do get some success with the prong collar, and why you'll see, you know, if let's say you start using it, you might see a difference at the beginning. Again, is because dogs are physical animals, right? So let's say Bruno was playing with another dog, and this dog was starting to get more intense in play, and Bruno's like, you know what, dude, you're kind of bothering me here. As you've seen, they can't really use words to communicate to each other that they don't like something that's happening to them. So dogs are very mouth-based, so they use their teeth to address their problems, right? So if the dog's getting too escalated with him, he's like, no, dude, you need to back off. Boom, he's going to give a bite. And it's going to be depending on that dog, how that dog receives it or understands it. Some dogs are able to understand, like, okay, he doesn't want to play, I'll leave him alone. Other dogs might look at that as like, I didn't like that. I'm going to correct you back. And then you get a fight, right? So prong collar is physicality, right? You're communicating to Bruno with physicality. So that's why a lot of dogs understand it right away, like with the pressure and everything, because they were supposed to mimic, as you probably have seen, they're supposed to mimic a dog's bite, right? Dogs have been getting physicality since 3 weeks, 4 weeks old. I don't know if you've seen it. There's a really popular YouTube video online of a cream retriever or like a lab dog, and she's entering like a playpen of her puppies, and they all run up on her, and it looks like they're asking for milk or just engagement. And she stops, shows her teeth, and she starts to growl, and she snaps at 3 puppies, and then you hear them yelp and everything. But this other like 6 or 7 turn around and then lay down. Like it's just quiet after that, right? So from that young age, again, it's their language. They already know what to do when they're getting that physicality. We don't do programs with prong collar. We do incorporate it if necessary, So like our bully breeds or bigger dogs, we do recommend it in case, you're, too slow with the remote or anything like that. You have a quick reaction to the leash to hit the prong collar there. But any questions so far?
No.
So then kind of speaking about all these tools and methods, then brings us to electronic collars. You know that we train with e-collars, correct?
Yeah.
What do you know anything about an e-collar?
I actually did briefly try that with with Bruno's trainer. But I need more help myself to be able to use it. Because again, it's reaction time. To be able to get Bruno to respond in the moment when he's freaking out about something.
So you have an e-collar?
I do, yeah.
Do you know what the brand is?
It's Sport Dog, I think.
Okay. So we don't use Sport Dog. The reason why we don't use Sport Dog is it's too much there. So like I think you have like low, high, or low, medium, low, high, and then like there's like 3 different like levels, but there's levels within those levels, correct?
I think there are like 10 settings on there.
10? Okay. Okay. So the reason why we don't use Sport Dog is because the owner Jesse, he's used all the brands before, and Dogtra is the brand that he's gotten the most success with. Right? Dogs just look better, and then everything looks better. There are other brands that have like a sharper, right, stimulation, and those dogs tend to be more either like a little more vocal or a little bit more like panicky. Now it's not like extreme panic, but it's just a little bit of like you can just tell like the way they're responding to the e-collar is a little bit like, okay, that was kind of weird, but whatever. But they still function well. Dogtra, the reason why Jesse likes dogs is because if you feel it, it's very dull. Like the feeling is very dull and it's not sharp or anything like that. Can it get uncomfortable? Yes. Dogtra is also super easy to use. You have your remote, you have a dial, and then you have your button you're using. That's all. That's all you really need as well. For Dogtra, you get 127 levels of stimulation, right? Other e-collars might have 8 or 10 levels, right, of stimulation. So Dogtra doesn't have 100 more like levels of power. Your level 10, your level 8, your maximum for those collars and our 127, they're the same. They feel the same. They're the same power, but we have so many more numbers to be more specific to the dog's personality, the breed, and like the moment, like the scenario we're in. Does it make sense? Have you felt like the stimulation on your Sport Dog?
Yeah.
It's just like a pulse, right? It's just nothing like, because a lot of times you're thinking like, oh my gosh, a shock collar, it's gonna like affect my whole body or something like that, which it doesn't. Do you know like where the technology comes from? So that same technology that are on our e-collars today is the same technology that's used on humans in physical therapy and with chiropractors. We basically just call it the mini TENS unit. So like when you go for physical therapy, there's like a stimulation there, and then there's like a TENS unit. All that's doing is just contracting your muscle. And we've taught physical therapists before and chiropractors, and then once we explain what it is, they're just like, oh, okay, I'm fine with it now. Or like they felt it and they're like, this is the same thing we use at the clinic or anything like that, right? So that's where the technology comes from. So if anyone's saying like, you're shocking your dog, again, that's just like a negative word to bring down like the e-collar. It's usually just called like remote collar training or e-collar training. Dogtra is waterproof. I think Sport Dog's waterproof too. Waterproof, you get a mile to a half-mile long range, very easy to use, and the battery lasts a very long time. But any questions about the e-collar?
No, I don't have any.
Okay. When you were using the e-collar on Bruno, how did he take to it?
He yelped a couple of times on the lowest setting. I was told too that, he was just probably being kind of dramatic because he's kind of dramatic like that.
Okay.
Um, but it did work when used, by the trainer. But I need help myself to be able to, apply that with him. But yeah, I mean, he definitely snapped out of what he was doing, which is one of the reasons why I was like, I think he needs kind of a different approach to training slash, just a little bit more expansive, where, like you were saying, if I'm holding I could be holding a piece of bacon outside. There's a bike. He's like, I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
this is so much more interesting. But yeah, the e-collar definitely got his attention away from, what he was doing.
Got it. Okay, cool. Um, for the um, for us, when we start training a dog on e-collar, um, what's the word? The first exercise we teach Bruno is going to be our heel command. Heel is our walking command. Our version of heel is walk with me, stay with me, and then sit when I stop. So when I take 5 steps, Bruno is to take 5 steps. When I take 10, Bruno takes 10. And when I come to a stop, Bruno is to automatically sit with his shoulder parallel to your leg, loose leash in any environment. I don't care what's going on. It needs to be that straight. So this is going to help with many things. So the reason why we teach heel first is to have Bruno understand what the e-collar is, right? So it would be unfair if I put him in a situation where I know he's going to react and just start blasting him, right? Because he needs to first know, how does this turn off? Because if he doesn't know how to turn this off, you're going to get more frustration, right? So we're teaching him heel to let him know that, oh, I'm in control of this. When I do something, right, this turns on, but when I do this behavior, it turns off. Okay. And then once he recognizes it and is familiar with it, then we can put him in like situations where like, okay, he's going to react here, but he's going to know that this eventually goes away at some point, right?
Yeah.
So again, teaching him the understanding of e-collar. Bruno will never know you're the one pressing the button, right? Because there's nothing connected to you and the feeling. Prong collar, flat collar, gentle leader, all those tools are connected to you by the leash. So Bruno is able to see where this is coming from. So that's why sometimes when you correct dogs on prong collars or on a flat or whatever it is, after you correct them, sometimes they just look directly at you, like, oh, like you did that. I know you did that. For e-collar, that doesn't happen. Dogs tend to think, I mean, I had one owner call it Big Brother's talking to them, whatever it's called, right? It's like universe, it's just something that's happening and they know it goes away when they do something. So they think they're in control of it, right? That's the first thing we're accomplishing when we're teaching the heel. Another thing we're accomplishing is your leash pulling, right? So he's pulling on the leash. We're going to teach him that when you do these, again, certain behaviors, pressure is going to turn on, but then when you do this, pressure turns off. So if you've ever seen our videos, if you wanted to get familiar with how it first starts off, Jesus San Miguel is like the YouTube channel's name, and just type in lesson 1, and then you'll see the first lessons for every dog, where we are teaching heel. So leash pulling, the understanding of the remote. The most important thing we're addressing also is the reactivity. So sometimes owners would ask, like, how does teaching my dog how to walk nice on a leash affect my reactivity, right? So with the e-collar, with that tool, we're using a number that is concerning to Bruno, right? So if our heel is good, it's not the obedience that matters, it's the discipline and like the psychology, the idea behind the command that matters. So what I mean by that is if our heel is good and it is important to him, so important that technically Bruno shouldn't care what's going on here because he's more worried and concerned about keeping your shoulder on your leg when you're walking, right?
Yeah.
So the idea is we teach you heel, see what it fixes. Maybe, or there's like what's it called? There's like a spectrum on what kind of goes away as we start to work with Bruno. The first thing that usually just goes away on its own when we teach heal and we don't need to address it directly is human reactivity. If a dog has any human reactivity, but there's no like human aggression behind it, like there's no intent, it just goes away, right? It just goes away. The next thing would be like calm dogs. Then it's like fast moving things like with higher energy. So like bikes, rollerbladers, scooters, joggers, and then other reactive dogs, right? And then the last thing that is the most difficult is you turn the corner and there's a dog there. That's the most difficult one because that's something you can't like expect or predict is going to happen. So again, we teach you heal. Let's see what changes with Bruno. Maybe you come back next class or what program we're doing, and then you're like, he was great. He wasn't reactive to calm dogs. Humans was out the door, and he actually stopped being reactive to bikes. But now it's just this. Maybe it's just skateboards because they're loud, and the other dogs because they're still reacting to him. That's when he has issues. Okay, then we'll start to give you more exercises to do and to use so that we can kind of tackle that situation on its own. I think I've had a few, but I had one recently where the dog was reactive to everything, and then first class they teach heal, and then I see them in the next class, and then she just stopped. She just stopped being reactive, right?
Wow.
Because this command is going to be almost relaxing because we're giving Bruno something to focus on. We're giving him a job. So with the overstimulation as well, he's starting to learn that, oh, I need to walk by mom. Like we're giving him like a job. So then when he starts to see that there is like something he needs to be doing on these walks instead of being on like, hunting mode, like who's that, who, there's another word I'm trying to find, like he'll be searching for something to do, right? He's going to realize, oh, I got to do this. And it's going to be more tiring, right? Because it's very mentally draining to keep this position throughout your whole walk. So here and there, a lot of things we might not need to address, or maybe it's like, hey, Enrique, we did heal. Humans he doesn't care about, but he still cares about everything else. Then it's like, okay, we'll address it. So it's basically just going like class by class, seeing what needs to be fixed or tweaked out there. Any questions so far?
No question. Sounds good.
Okay. So again, we're teaching him heal, and then once we do like the heal stuff and everything like that, we can probably do like an exercise for the car. So you're gonna find as we go through the program, that the car stuff will make sense to you, and you might just know how to do it right away. Okay. So we might just do like a class on that, depending on what program you choose. So program wise, is there like a specific program you were looking for? Because we have like the board and train in person, so like the one-on-one, and then daycare and train. Is there like one you were leaning more towards?
I mean, I think that I just want the issue addressed. So however that's best going to be accomplished, I'm open to the discussion on it. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess I'm open-minded.
Got it. Okay. So for you, since you've already had 2 trainers or 1 trainer?
We did classes and then 1 trainer.
Okay. So you did like a group class thing?
Yeah. Like when I first got her.
Yeah, you did group classes, and then with the trainer, did you do like what program were you doing, like in person, like one-on-ones with them?
Like one-on-one in person.
Got it. Okay. So we always recommend in person, right? Because for in-person programs, you learn a lot more. So you're learning more, and if you did a board and trainer, daycare and train, we know what to do. Like we're the trainers, so it'll be easy for us. And for the board and train and daycare and train, we record everything. So we record the first time Bruno is taking understand the e-collar. What we can't record is like our training walks. So if we're walking and like some dog reacts to us and we have to address it, like you just missed all that. So
yeah,
For a dog like
And I'll
Bruno,
be honest, I think he feeds off of my anxiety because he does react to everything. So obviously I know hang on too tight and I do need to, address my own stuff.
yeah. And it has happened before where I think this one lady had a dog, or no, she had a dog, and he was so reactive because they didn't live in the city. They live in like a quiet suburb area, and this dog would see a person in the house on a walk and react to that. And we get the dog, and he was with us for 2 weeks, and we never heard this dog make a noise, like not even a growl, like a whine. He never whined at all. He was super quiet. He never barked at anything. He was just like, he was fine. Um, we did a follow-up lesson. Once the owner came, then he started to get anxious. He still didn't bark or become reactive though, but you can tell like the difference, with who's there and who's handling him. So I think an in-person would be good for you because again, at the end of the day, you're the one walking Bruno, and you need to learn how to address the reactivity and everything like that. So in person, we have the 3-week program, the 6-week program, 9 and 12. Everything from what I'm hearing, you're going to be more in, I would say, the 6 or 3-week program. So if you're I just want to tackle my leash walking and the car and like with that reactivity, right? The 3-week program would be a good fit. That's like bare bones. That's like just that.
Okay.
The 6-week program is like maybe you want to learn how to do recall, like an off-leash recall with the e-collar, and maybe you want to do like an in-home as well. So with the 3-week program, how the classes will look is one class. The first class, we're going to teach you heel. We might give you because they're usually like once a week for an hour. So like every Monday for 6 times or 3 times, whatever it is. If we do the 3-week, I would want to give you a week, an extra week to practice since we only have 3 classes. You come back second class, how'd it go? Still reactive. Okay, let's do these. Let's change this. Okay. And then maybe you come back third class and then you're like, great, he's way better on the walks, but the car is still an issue. Okay, then we do the car. And that's just how it would go.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's going well after your first class, we can still give you some more heel stuff to do. So it's probably gonna be like 2 classes heel and then your car situation, if that's what your focus is on. The 6-week would be 2 classes heel, 2 classes recall, and then see if we need to do the car thing for that 5th class. And then you have 1 more extra class to see. You can either save it to like when you need it, or you can do that as like your in-home. So you get a lot more wiggle room, right? Recall wouldn't be like the priority, obviously. So we would do that when the reactivity is good, right? So the 6-week gives you more wiggle room technically because you have more classes. So let's say you want to learn more and you do the 3-week program, you can still buy like another 3-week program if you want. So sometimes owners get surprised with what their dog can do with a few classes. So then they're like, whoa, well, I want to learn more. I want more commands now because this is easy now. I can do, because e-collar is supposed to give you what's the word? Like more freedom. E-collar is supposed to give you more activities to do. So like an owner would say, yeah, if I were to walk my dog, I would like to take my dog to an outdoor patio. Okay, then we will probably have to do like a longer program so that you can get to that point, because we probably definitely can. Like I said, if you're just trying to just stop the reactivity, I think the 3-week class would be good. The 9 and 12, again, are there for if you want more control. So like the 12-week program is for owners who like go hiking every other weekend and they want the complete off-leash trained dog, right? Any questions so far about the programs?
No question.
What else? Again, I'm going to use the 6-week program for an example. We with each other 6 times for an hour once a week. It's all verbal instruction. So the trainer doesn't touch the dog. We're only coaching you through the process. What else? We give you, again, one topic at a time, just so we're not overwhelming you with information. We do in-home, if that's something you want to do. Just, I think this might be a price increase because of the travel fee. But we can still do like a facility training and then one in-home class as well. With the nicer weather coming along, what's this month? April. At the end of like towards the end of April, we're going to start training, moving our sessions to Oz Park or Palmer Square Park.
Okay.
We like to train at these parks just because, I mean, I don't know if you know, but Oz Park is like the busiest park in the city. Dogs, people, baseball games, parties, everything is there. So if you can train Bruno at Oz Park, I'm pretty sure you can do anywhere. Any questions about that?
Nope, sounds good.
Oh, I forgot. A common question owners have asked about the e-collar is, you know, at some point, does my dog graduate from the e-collar? Do they always need it 24/7? Or like, when does it come on? When does it come off? So on your walks, even after you complete your program, even if Bruno is not reactive, right? You will still have it on. Now the e-collar is only going to be on for emergencies though. So if you're walking and a car accident happens, a car backfires, someone shoots their firework and it's not even the 4th of July right next to you, like something sudden. So basically things we can't predict on these walks is why we have the e-collar on. We can't predict it. We've heard a lot of horror stories where kind of similar to yours, where like dog bolts and like breaks a finger and then the dog is gone, or like the leashes slip and then the dog is running away. If Bruno is ever in a mode where, or in a mindset where he needs to run away, we call that flight mode. When dogs are in flight mode, they're thinking kill or be killed. They're running for their life. So Bruno come might not make him want to come to you. I mean, sometimes if the recall is really good and you're doing a lot of work with it, it could, but sometimes he might not respond to it. So then you have your e-collar, your remote, to override the brain out of that flight mode and then make him do the 180 and come back to you right away. In the home, if it's just you and Bruno, you're not expecting any guests to come over, just you, then you don't need the e-collar. If you're gonna have guests come over and you know he's a jumper, he's excited, or maybe let's say your guest doesn't like dogs, right? Then you can collar him up 30 minutes prior, address whatever that is needing to be addressed. And if you find that Bruno is settled throughout your guest's stay, then you can take it off, or you can keep it on just in case he does get riled up again or they excite him or anything like that. That's kind of personal preference there. But in short, the e-collar is basically on as you need it. For my dogs, Jesse's dogs, we press the button maybe like 3 times a month here and there, again, just for emergencies, because we've done all the hard work already. We've done all the pressing, we've done like using it a lot in the beginning, so that we can get to a point where we're not really using it, it's just there just in case. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get that.
Any questions about the training, the e-collar, the programs, or anything like that?
No, I mean, it sounds good and, familiar, so.
Got it. Okay. So after this consultation, you're going to get a follow-up email from my assistant, Tina. She's going to send you the programs I recommend for you and Bruno with the prices. She's also going to send you the e-collar I recommend for Bruno. The e-collar I recommend for Bruno is called the 1900S Black Edition from Dogtra. We used to sell them, but I think they're out of stock. Like for retail, like just to give for retail. So she's going to send you the link to Amazon and Dogtra and see if you can get if you can get one. If not, we have another model we can use, which she'll have all that information in the email. She's also going to send you a form that needs to be signed. It's just like an agreement thing. So basically, once that form is signed, we can go ahead and begin the billing and booking process. We work with your availability. So I guess another reason why some owners don't do the in-person is because they're not available. So then they'll have to do the board and train. Did you want me to talk about the board and trains or the daycare and trains?
I think that the in-person sessions sound good for now. I think maybe if it, doesn't pan out, but I think I need to be trained too. So I think that's probably the best option.
Sweet. Okay. Cool. So she'll send that email. But other than that, like I said, nothing out of the ordinary. This is very common.
Okay. And so, I mean, I feel like since I haven't been able to have any long-term success, is there like a guarantee if this doesn't work out, or how do
Yeah.
you
So
proceed?
I think it's only happened like two times. The reason why we had one dog who, how do I say, had like touch sensitivity and human aggression. So we had to take him for like 4 weeks or something to like muzzle condition the dog, touch
Okay.
the dog's ears, and kind of do like this extra stuff, because that was just like stuff the owner couldn't do. So we had to take the dog, but we always find a solution, right? We have another dog right now who is dealing with reactivity, and they've been struggling. So then we're like, okay, drop the dog off. We're going to see what we can do, see what needs to be changed, and then we'll kind of speak about it when we're done here. But I've never seen a dog fail. The only how do I say? The only times I do see dogs fail is because the owner isn't following through. They're not doing the homework, or they're just not kind of doing what we're telling them to do, right? So on your e-collar, like I said before, you have 127 levels. On the maximum power, you will never physically or mentally, psychologically, whatever, damage your dog, right? The e-collar will never match the actual power of a dog bite, right? It can get pretty close, but it will never match that power, because e-collar doesn't puncture, dog bites do. So, if we're telling an owner, hey, you have to operate at 70s or 80s for your dog to be successful. Like, this is what your dog needs, because of all the experience we've had here with certain dogs. We already know what to do. And if the owner is like 80 is a high number, I'm uncomfortable, right? And they're not willing to do that, there's going to be some confusion for the dog, the owner, and it's just not going to go well. So we've had a few cases where the owner just wasn't following through, and the dog ended up just not really succeeding. But as long as you do the homework, you follow through with the information and the instruction we're telling you to do, it should all be fine. This is like we've handled, like, I'm not trying to, what's the word, like belittle or anything like that, but this is to me, this is not really not like nothing too difficult. We've had
Well,
dogs.
that's a relief to hear.
Sorry?
That's such a relief to hear.
We've had dogs where you try to enter the home and they're right there on your leg biting you, right? We have to wear like the whole bite suit to like enter the home, but we can't even open the door because the dog is already latched onto our leg or arm, the sleeves, right? We've had dogs, we've trained deaf dogs, blind dogs, tripods, 12-year-olds. We've done e-collar training with like 3-month-old puppies, right? We've done a lot of things, but the intensity with other dogs we've seen has been more extreme. But everything I'm hearing sounds good. So he's able to engage with humans. He's able to engage with dogs. He's able to do all these things. So then there's just telling me already that, like, okay, he's just overstimulated then. He just doesn't know what to do on these walks. That's all. But if it was like, no, I can't have anyone over because he's lunging and barking at them, or no, he's never been to with another dog because he's always trying to attack them. Then it's like, okay, now there are certain things we can't promise you. Like if you're like, say Bruno wasn't social, you've never seen him socialize because he's always trying to attack the other dog. We can make Bruno stop the attacking of other dogs, but what we can't make Bruno do is play or become friends. That's up to him. Dogs have to make that decision to be willing to open up to another dog, kind of like humans, right? If you're telling me that I should like sushi, but I'm like, I don't like sushi. I can try it, but I'm not gonna like it, right? Same thing with the dogs. So like I said, everything I'm hearing from Bruno and what you're telling me does not sound I mean, like impossible or anything like that. We've heard this many times. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, like I said, if there's something that's being struggled with, maybe there's like another behavioral issue or something like that. Again, we'll do what needs to be done to be able to, so that you're able to take Bruno on a walk with no reactive moments there for him. Okay.
Awesome. That sounds good.
If anything comes up, if there's any other questions you have, feel free to email me and then I'll answer the question. We'll get back to you. Also, sorry, are you the only handler for Bruno?
Yeah.
Okay, just to make sure. Okay. Other than that, you'll just keep an eye out for Tina's follow-up email, which will either be sent out later in the evening today or tomorrow.
Okay.
And then you'll just get back to her with your availability and like signing the agreement and everything like that. But I do recommend, looking at our YouTube channel and typing in lesson 1, just so you can see how a lesson looks. Any other questions?
No, sounds good.
Alrighty. It was very nice speaking with you. And other than that, we'll be in touch.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for meeting with me today.
Of course. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.